You're not my daddy.
Nick, am I going to become a dad again?
I'm not.
I really enjoy this brand of zombie games, and I become a dad.
A couple of months ago, my girlfriend asked me why more games weren't made into TV series. She's been doing a lot of thinking since then, and now she's got another question. Are there any games that did the opposite? The reality is, plenty of films and shows have tried their hand at expanding into video games, but many fail to stand out from the shadow of their source material. But as always, there are exceptions. Telltale's The Walking Dead is something special. The biggest shortcoming of a video game adaptation comes from an over-reliance on the established world rather than exploring something new and interesting within it. What makes The Walking Dead game unique is that it leans into its television roots by offering a game that plays episodically like a show.
I see.
The game is divided into 5 playable episodes, and back when it first released, each episode came out 2 months apart, and each one ended with a cliffhanger more enticing than the last.
What is going to happen? You could ask Nick, I was a little traumatized after yesterday's stream.
Suspense is what makes any TV show good, and if there's one thing this game knew, it was how to create suspense.
I didn't save anybody! I didn't save anybody!
So this week, I'm sending the world's most indecisive girlfriend into a decision-based game. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. I feel like I didn't do something right.
Her story begins somewhere outside of Atlanta, in the back of a squad car. She's playing as a convicted felon named Lee. His crime? He's been charged with murder.
Well, I reckon you didn't do it then.
Lee caught his wife cheating with a state senator and killed her lover in a crime of passion. Although he's pretty honest and ashamed of what he did, my girlfriend didn't want to believe he was a bad person.
Mama, it's all a big mistake. It wasn't me.
I feel like that's what that guy did when he was like a toddler.
The irony being that he's not, or at least he doesn't have to be. Being a decision-based game, the path she takes depends on her choices.
I keep going with the B option.
Lee can be as good or as bad of a person as she wants to make him. Choosing won't always be easy though, especially since we're dealing with some serious indecision.
Oh, I see. There's like, oh my god, there's a time limit! Ah!
Good people can do bad things, and bad people can do good things. Under the right circumstances, a person will do all kinds of things just to survive.
Oh god, look out! Ah!
Lee's arrest just happened to line up with the undead outbreak. Depending on how you look at it, this is either really good luck or really bad luck. On the one hand, he's free. The officer tasked with escorting him retired early.
That was not aimed.
On the other hand, though, he's smack dab in the middle of the apocalypse.
Ah! Get over, get over. Oh!
After fleeing the forest into a nearby neighborhood, Lee explores a house and finds a walkie-talkie with a friendly voice.
You need to be quiet.
Okay, who is this?
I'm Clementine.
She's
This is my
okay!
Hi, Clementine. I'm Lee.
While talking to Clementine, Lee is attacked by a walker.
Oh, she's so cute. She's so smart. What the hell just happened?
He's still injured from the crash, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for his clumsy escape attempt.
Fuck, get out of here. Oh.
Thankfully, Clementine comes to his aid and probably saves his life.
Thank you, Clementine. Oh, how do I know when it's dead? Oh, I think it's dead.
The walker my girlfriend just killed was Clementine's babysitter, and we learn here that her parents were on a trip to Savannah. All alone, she's been hiding out in her treehouse waiting for them to come home.
What is going on here, honey?
Yourself through this?
Yeah, I want my parents to come home now.
My girlfriend has been on what we've been calling her dad arc. Ever since she played The Last of Us, she's been obsessed with games about hardened apocalypse survivors and their adoptive daughters. So naturally, she took Clementine under her wing.
I'll look after you until then.
Yay!
The two decide to look for help during the day and run into a couple of guys named Sean and Chet. They offer to let Lee and Clem stay the night at the family farm in exchange for helping them clear the road.
As babysitters go, I'd say your parents owe you a tip.
Herschel's farm is the first place where she begins to see the consequences of some of her decisions popping up. When introducing herself to Sean, she told him that Lee was Clementine's babysitter.
I'm just some guy.
Babysitter. Her parents are out of town.
Herschel is much less gullible than his son and could see right through that lie.
Honey, Do you know this man?
Yes.
He's far more suspicious of Lee as a result and starts grilling her with questions.
How'd this happen?
Jumping a fence.
Running from something?
Oh.
During dialogue, these little notifications pop up every time she makes a decision that'll have consequences down the line. You're reminded every time you make a choice by these ominous statements, and believe me when I say, these words scared my girlfriend far more than any zombie ever could. Our duo's given a place to sleep in the barn for the night, and things seem peaceful for the first time since that car crash. The calm won't last forever. Come morning, the two are gonna need to come up with a plan.
I miss my mom and dad.
I know, Clementine, honey. We're gonna get you back. I promise.
How far is Savannah?
Pretty damn far.
Oh, okay.
The next morning, she wakes up and meets the other family staying on the farm.
Well, you slept in a barn, little lady.
Little
Lucky you don't
lady?
have spiders in your hair.
Kenny and his hyperactive son Duck introduce themselves, and shortly thereafter she meets his wife Katja. Sean needs some help around the farm, and from here she's free to wander around and talk to whomever she likes.
I'll see what the girl would like.
Ah, gotta consult the missus.
Yup.
I understand.
We learn Kenny was a commercial fisherman whose plan is to head for the coast and find a boat. He figures they're called walkers and not swimmers for a reason.
Katja wouldn't be wild about it, but the boat's not that bad.
Lee also intends to head east since his family is from Macon, and offers to help get the truck running so he and Clementine can hitch a ride.
It's not the most reliable pickup in the world, but it gets
It's
the
hard.
job
It's
done.
like, I want to learn info about...
It's actually a piece of shit, but all's all right.
Helping Sean cut some 2x4s to size on the other side of the farm, she can learn that he's concerned his dad isn't taking the outbreak seriously enough.
My dad doesn't know how bad it is.
No, he doesn't.
Speaking of Herschel, he's still a little bent out of shape from my girlfriend's white lies the night before, and he's more than happy to give her an earful about it.
I don't know who you are or what you did, but you better become a better liar, and fast.
Jeez Louise.
A common thing we'll see in this playthrough is my girlfriend accidentally lying. A lot. Take it from me, she can't lie with a straight face even if she wanted to. But when she's put in the hot seat with a timer, she'll start saying whatever the first thing that comes to mind is.
So
I was
whoever you
being
are,
honest to try and, like...
keep it to your damn self.
What the hell?
For now, there's a crisis to deal with.
Go! I'll get my gun.
Sean and Duck are both attacked, and her first major choice in the game is picking who to save.
Oh no! Did he drive over the leg? No! Duck! Duck!
The irony is that although this decision is given a lot of weight in the moment, who you choose will not change the outcome.
We have to save Duck. Okay. Oh jeez, okay, I have to get the... No!
Sean will always get eaten, and Kenny will always save Duck. That's not to say that her decisions didn't matter, though. While her actions may lead to the same results, the consequences will follow her all the way to the end.
Oh my god!
Regardless, Herschel is understandably a little pissed off, and to no one's surprise, the gang gets booted off his land.
Get the fuck out of here!
I lost my home.
Kenny offers Lee that ride to Macon, and since we're no longer welcome here, my girlfriend is happy to take it.
Thank you, sir. These kids are seeing way too much traumatizing stuff.
When we next see them, our crew is just rolling into Macon and running on fumes. Almost as soon as they get out of the car, they're surrounded by
Let's run
walkers.
out of gas.
That is definitely a Zambo. You just called them over here, Kenny.
Things seem like they're about to turn for the worst, but thankfully they're rescued by a group of survivors holed up in a nearby drugstore.
Yo! Run! Who are these people?
Tensions are high and trust is low, as this group is nervous about bringing in new people. A particularly unlikable character named Larry starts accusing Duck of being bitten.
Holy shit. Son of a bitch. One of them is bitten.
Kenny's ready to throw hands to protect his son.
Over my dead body.
Uh-oh.
We'll dig one hole.
And to make matters worse, Clementine has to go to the bathroom.
I have to pee.
My girlfriend has the choice here to side with Kenny or Larry about what to do with Duck. I don't think it's a particularly tough decision given how rude Larry is, but regardless, Kenny tries punching him in the face and gets his ass beat instead.
Knock this guy out. Happily.
Jesus.
Oh man.
What the hell is going on? Oh my god! Yeah, we got bigger issues.
Ironically, all this bickering about potentially being trapped in here with one of them, and there was a walker chilling out in the ladies' room the whole time.
I don't know why that guy was filled with so much testosterone. Good lord.
After dealing with the undead occupancy, the steam cools off and the group is able to talk with more level heads. Duck is cleaned up and proven to be not bitten, Larry passes out from his heart condition, and that kicks off her next objective.
That was...
Dad!
Oh, did he have a heart attack?
Larry's daughter Lily is the de facto leader of this group, and she explains that they need to get Larry some nitroglycerin pills to help with his palpitations. Despite being in a pharmacy, the prescription counter's locked. Everyone settles in, and Glenn, a fan favorite pizza delivery guy from the TV series, offers to head out and find some supplies at a local motel.
Here's a walkie-talkie if you get in a tight spot. Hopefully, you won't need it.
Cool.
Clementine's got
What's
the
his name?
Check in with her and get
Glenn.
What Lee chooses not to share with the other survivors here is that he knows this drugstore they're in. It belonged to his parents. The woman with the gun who saved Clementine earlier confronts the two of them.
You're Lee Everett. You're a professor at Athens who killed a state senator who was sleeping with your wife.
Although this has the potential to be a problem, it seems like Carly's willing to keep his secret safe for now.
Maybe you're a murderer, but I don't really care.
After poking around some more with Clem and helping her bandage her finger, my girlfriend got kinda stuck. She can go outside with a survivor named Doug, but aside from trying to reach a brick, there's nothing else she can do.
I can't reach that brick.
I'm trying.
In these free roam sections, if you don't find the trigger to move the story forward, you'll find yourself quite literally talking in circles. My girlfriend must have asked Clementine how her finger was half a dozen times while trying to figure out what to do next, and our chat was sure to remember it.
How's your finger?
It's okay. Thanks for fixing it.
Speaking of, we streamed her entire playthrough live over on our Twitch, and if you want to catch future playthroughs that end up on the channel, or just hang out with Taryn and I a few times a week, head over there and hit us with a follow. We've got a welcoming community, and we'll be excited to have you as a part of it.
How's your finger?
It's okay.
Well, I'm just trying to
Thanks
exit
for
the
fixing it.
convo.
After checking on her finger a few more times, my girlfriend finally figured out what to do next.
So literally, I just can ask her about the finger.
Glenn radios the group asking for some backup as he's pinned down and needs some help. Lee and Carly decide to go together to help him out. There's a woman there they try to save, but it turns out she's already bitten.
You have a boyfriend?
Glenn.
Back at the drugstore, it's time to switch her focus to getting those pills for Larry. Finally able to reach that brick with Doug.
I can't reach that brick.
That is a lie. You can reach that brick.
She can hurl it across the street, Last of Us style, and distract the walkers with the noise.
Oh, so now it's even louder because of the glass.
With the keys now in hand, my girlfriend can finally get to those pills she's been after.
We're going in.
We gotta hurry.
Oh, shit.
The group is in a mad scramble to defend the place. Doug and Carly are working with Lee to barricade the door. The two do their best to hold things shut, but both are overwhelmed at the same time. And suddenly my girlfriend is slapped with the biggest decision of episode 1. Unlike the earlier decision with Sean and Duck, this time the choice does matter. One of these characters is going with her into the future episodes, and the other's getting left behind.
I kind of wish I saved Doug.
Speaking of decisions, even after saving Larry with those pills, he still hasn't forgotten whose side Lee took when she first got here.
What the fuck? Excuse me?
Thankfully, Kenny hasn't forgotten either.
I'm not letting somebody else get eaten today.
Thank you, Kenny.
Especially a good friend.
Fucking Larry, I got him his fucking medicine.
The group flees to the motel for shelter, and after saying goodbye to Glenn, who decides to head over to AMC to star in the show, the group decides to fortify the motel and see what happens next.
I fell, and my walkie-talkie broke. Glenn had the other one.
Aww.
Not, of course, before Larry ominously reveals that he knows who Lee is.
Everyone will know that you, Lee Everett, are a killer. And you were before it was something you had to do to stay alive.
This is the end of the first episode, and at this point my girlfriend was hooked.
So how long will the power last?
She couldn't wait to dive into episode 2 right away.
Hey, I just asked this.
This is where she's a little spoiled though, because back in 2012, we all had to wait 2 entire months to see what came next.
So that was chapter 1? Damn.
In her case, she's only got to wait about a minute, so I'll have her tell you about today's sponsor during the intermission.
Today, I'm excited to tell you about Sword of Justice, a new MMO that just hit the scene this month. It should come as no surprise that I took one look at the character creator for this game and was like, Nick, let me take the lead on this one. I'm not going to bed tonight. The character customization and fashion options are vast and had my mouth watering. I really liked the attention to detail they allow when designing, and the fact that there was a photo mode was just the cherry on top. It's my fashion show. Beyond designing characters, the gameplay has a focus on no pay to win, which is always one of the first things my boyfriend looks for in a new MMO. Their emphasis on low grind without that heavy chore list of dailies is a really nice change of pace and made logging in feel more like a casual social experience rather than a race to keep up with everyone. I like that there's a little something for every kind of player to enjoy, since he and I tend to have very different ideas of fun when it comes to MMOs. The game is of course a multiplayer experience, but it has single player content if you're more of a lone wolf like Boy over there. If you're interested, you can download the game for free today using our link in the description.
It's been about 3 months since the first episode, and our group is still at the motel. We've got a new member named Mark.
I don't know who this guy is.
But other than that, the core group remains the same. Mark, Kenny, and Lee are out hunting when they suddenly hear a scream. They stumble upon a couple of high schoolers and their teacher, the latter of which accidentally stepped into a bear trap.
Kid, chill out. We'll try to help you.
Thank you, Kenny.
The injured instructor is making a ton of noise and attracting walkers on all sides, so they gotta figure out what to do and quick.
Oh my god, do I have to cut off his leg?
I don't know whether to say fortunately or unfortunately, but my girlfriend didn't want to cut the guy's leg off. So instead, she left him for dead.
We gotta go now.
I wasn't able to free David.
No.
During the chaos, one of the teens tried to wrestle a gun out of Mark's hands and got himself shot.
It's called gun safety for a reason.
We opt to bring him and his buddy Ben back to camp because we feel guilty for shooting one of them. But things are tense since there's already too many mouths to feed.
Lee! What the hell? You can't just be bringing new people here. What are you thinking?
After some bickering between Kenny and Lily, they settle on having Lee distribute the rations for the day.
You decide who gets to eat.
There are only 4 pieces of food and 10 hungry people at camp. My girlfriend basically had 2 goals here. First, feed the children.
I'll give the kids the crackers.
Okay, a Sunday would be better next time.
Well, this is what we got, little lady.
And second, make sure Larry doesn't get anything.
What happened to my food?
I fed it to Mark right in front of you.
People briefly take their minds off of food when the injured kid from earlier reanimates and tries to bite Katja.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Shoot it!
Ooh.
All eyes are on Ben, wondering why he didn't share that his friend was bitten.
It's not the bite that does it.
What is it?
You come back no matter how you die.
This revelation is interrupted by 2 brothers who wander into our camp. Danny and Andy St. John own a dairy down the road and are short on fuel for their generators. They offer to trade food in exchange for gasoline. The dairy seems like a safe haven from the walkers thanks to the electric fence that borders it. The 2 groups can benefit from each other, and the hope is that if she plays her cards right, they might let us take up residence with them.
I don't really trust these people.
Harley and Ben head back to let everyone know that the dairy checks out, while Mark and Lee offer to help do some work around the farm to earn their keep.
No, I don't like that you're on that side of the fence, Mark.
While repairing sections of the fence, they're attacked by bandits, and Mark takes an arrow to the shoulder.
I have to check his finger, but his shoulder looks pretty dire.
The 2 escape just in time for the rest of the group to arrive.
Well, that's easy. I got charm coming out of my ass.
Yeah.
What?
Real charming, Dad.
Everyone seems to be getting on and having a good time.
Daddy said it's called a salt lick.
Yeah,
Duck, did you
but
lick
don't
it?
lick it. It's gross.
Did you lick it?
Did you lick it?
I don't know.
But Kenny seems suspicious of the place.
Don't get paranoid.
Oh, I am mega paranoid.
There's a strange door at the back of the barn with some bloodstains leading into it. Kenny suggests picking the lock in an interesting way.
Why would I know how to pick a lock?
Well, you're, you know, urban.
He's profiling me!
Saying what I think.
Lee is not standing for that.
And Lee decides he and the Florida man will have to find another way in instead.
I just hope no one sees me doing this.
There, that should do it.
My girlfriend creates a distraction, and when the dinner bell rings, she takes the bolts off the lock. So obviously something really weird is going on here, but she hasn't quite sussed it all out yet.
I want to check on Mark.
Mind if I wash my hands first?
Mark's been missing ever since he ate that arrow earlier, and she decides to go upstairs and check in on him.
Mark!
She ends up finding him, along with some answers.
Don't eat dinner.
They're making the dinner out of his legs!
There's a lot to take in here, but there's no time to think if she wants to stop Clementine from eating human meat.
Don't let Clementine eat! Don't let anybody eat! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Oh.
If it wasn't clear, the St. Johns are cannibals.
Clementine, no, 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 no! No, girl, no!
Clementine, no!
Lee, Jesus, man. Did you find something?
They've been eating survivors they find, which is why they have an abundance of food. When Lee comes to, he's in a meat locker.
Don't give up.
How's your finger?
We're gonna find a way out of here.
During all the hubbub, Larry ends up working himself up so much that he has a heart attack, and suddenly my girlfriend finds herself saddled with another major decision.
He did it to his damn self. Wait, but if he turns into a Zambo in here, oh no.
She can help resuscitate Larry or kill him before he turns and attacks.
Oh my god!
Come on, Lee, I'm right about
She's
this.
about to
I know
be
you've got my
pissed
back.
at me if
You
I do
always
this.
God damn it, Lee, I need you! Please help me!
Help you with what?
Once again, her indecision strikes, and she runs out of time before making a choice.
Ah!
You're useless, Lee!
As the saying goes, if you try to please everybody, you'll end up pleasing no one.
Hurry the fuck up, Lee. We don't have all day here.
Good lord.
Ironically, Larry ended up in the exact position he put Duck in back in chapter 1, so I guess that's poetic.
He keeps trying to say like I told you so, and I'm like, I never disagreed with you.
Kenny and Lee team up to take out Danny, but since she didn't help cave in Larry's head, he doesn't have her back during the confrontation.
Kenny?
This is made up for later on though, when Lily's willing to help her in her fight with Andy.
Damn! I'm glad she's a good shot.
With the dairy destroyed, the fence cooked, and any hope for finding a new home here lost, the group leaves the St. John's to the walkers.
Were they really killing people?
Yup. They ate Mark.
Somehow, by sheer happenstance though, on their way home they find a station wagon filled to the brim with food and supplies. The supply ought to be enough to keep them going for a few more weeks, or at least until the next chapter. Chapter 3 picks up a week after the dairy incident, and a hell of a lot of crazy stuff happens. Lily mentions that someone's been stealing supplies from the group, and trying to be a peacekeeper, my girlfriend agrees to help track down the culprit. Lo and behold, when she and Lee search a vent on the far end of the motel, they find a bag full of medicine in a dead drop.
Oh my gosh. Is someone giving the bandits something in exchange for the safety of the motel?
Confirming Lily's suspicions, now they're stuck with figuring out what to do. At least they are until they get some visitors.
Got our people out there.
What? What? What?
All hell breaks loose as a shootout ensues, and everyone scrambles into Kenny's RV for an escape. My girlfriend's tasked with returning fire and starts popping bandits left and right.
Oh, I'm really good at shooting.
Just when it seems like they can't last, they take off and leave the motel behind forever.
She made it. We're driving over the chalk. Woo!
Jesus, are you okay?
How's your finger?
On the road, Lily is furious at whoever was stealing from their meds. After hurling blame against just about everyone in the van aside from Clementine, Kenny accidentally hits a pedestrian walker and they're forced to pull over.
Shit, what's going on up there?
I hit something.
Despite my girlfriend trying to calm everybody down, the discussion continues on the side of the road.
You can push Ben around, but you can't push me around.
Ben's panicking isn't helping his case, and to be honest, my girlfriend's starting to kind of suspect him too.
Hey, I'll do anything.
Regardless, no one's getting left behind the side of the road on her watch, and Carly seems to agree.
Do we need any more evidence?
Yes!
Than this? Fuck evidence. Stop treating him like this. Shut up, Carly.
What in the
I've heard enough
world?
out of you.
Once Kenny finally gets the walker loose from under the car, he joins the discussion.
Now, what the fuck's the problem?
Drop it.
She could choose to leave Lily behind here, but despite everything, girl didn't have the heart to kick her to the curb. So instead they tied her wrists and brought her back inside the van.
What the hell?
Protect all of us.
We don't even know if it was Carly.
She's already down a member of her group, but that's nothing compared to the bombshell waiting for her when she climbs back into the RV.
Is Duck feeling all right?
Duck was bit. Oh my god.
Fuck.
Happened during the raid.
Could I have stopped that with better shooting?
Episode 3 is like the red wedding of this game. Half the main cast is on their way out. I just hope nothing bad happens to Clementine.
What? Oh, it was a dream. Why would they do that to me?
Got something up ahead.
The ride in the RV is short-lived as they end up blocked by a crashed locomotive. The group all pile out and leave Lily inside with the keys. A questionable decision, but I'm sure nothing will come of it.
Kenny really set her up for that one.
Stealing the RV.
Yeah, were you thinking leaving the keys in it?
Come back here, you crazy bitch.
Lily is written out of the story here as a convenience, since it's more or less the same outcome as if you'd chosen to leave her behind after what happened with Carly.
I guess I should have just left her on the side of the road, huh?
Anyways, the gang gets a new idea. We can take the train all the way to the coast and find that boat Kenny's been dreaming of getting.
How the hell do we get it moving?
Why are we letting Kenny drive the train if he can hardly even drive the car?
Must just be a dad thing. Even in the apocalypse, they're trying to convince themselves that a boat will solve everything.
Put 1,000 walkers between us and the ocean, and we don't have to give a shit.
She meets a homeless man who lived in one of the boxcars named Chuck.
You touch any of my stuff?
The group's short a couple of members, and he even has a guitar, so I guess he can come along.
You met Chuck.
Yeah, I did.
Did no one think to holler to me?
After some tinkering with the train's controls, they're actually able to get it moving. Not all is well, though, as Duck's gotten a lot worse.
Clem, honey, please stay away from the open car doors and also away from Duck.
He's beginning to cough up blood, and Katja sees the writing on the wall.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to make a decision because Kenny has his head in the sand.
She asks Lee to head up to the front and get Kenny. Kenny is in the mood for bad news, and the two almost get into a fight several times here.
No, this is not about karma. This is just zombies in the apocalypse. Oh, sorry, walkers.
The parents decide they owe it to their son to make sure he doesn't turn, but a shot and a yell from the woods spell tragedy.
She likes the honesty. What?
No! Ben, take Clementine into the train.
What the hell just happened? What the hell just happened?
Cat, gotcha.
What just happened?
I was not kidding when I said this was a tragic chapter. Leaving Kenny to shoot his own son after losing his entire family in a single day was just too harsh for her. So she was able to make the tough decision without any hesitation.
Give me the gun, kid. I'll do it.
You're welcome to do it, Ken, but I will help you. Oh! Oh!
Back on the train, things mellow out a bit on the way to Savannah. Ben comes clean that it was him stealing, and my girlfriend tells him to keep it to himself since everyone's on pins and needles.
It was me.
Oh, I knew it was you, Ben!
I was the one giving the bandits supplies.
Oh, I knew it! Don't act so surprisingly. I knew this.
Chuck convinces my girlfriend she needs to train Clementine if she's going to survive in this new world, and although his words are harsh, he makes a good point.
She's a little girl.
And she'll die a little girl if you treat her like one.
She teaches her to handle a gun and defend herself.
You okay?
She
I don't like this.
There's been a lot of tragedy this episode, but nothing quite as tragic as the loss of Clementine's hair.
It's not like Clem's hair is that long. It easily can go in a braid.
The group makes one more stop on the way to Savannah. A tanker fell off an overpass and is blocking the tracks.
Maybe we could walk? That's fucking stupid, Ben.
They meet Krista and Omid, a husband and wife duo of survivors.
Yo, you keep screaming like that and you're gonna get your face chewed off.
Are you guys gonna
Who
be
are
trouble?
these people?
Because we could have just kept walking.
With a group a fraction of its former glory, we bring them along because we got space. They help her move the wreck so the train can keep going, but Omid busts his leg pretty badly in the process.
Oh my god! Shit! Oh my god, I have to pick? Oh my god, well, I like him.
With everyone settled in for the long ride to Savannah, it feels like the adrenaline is finally coming down.
Oh my god, am I about to cry? Oh!
But when Clementine's walkie starts making noise, my girlfriend and Lee raise their eyebrows.
Oh my god, it's working! It's working!
Can't wait for you to get to Savannah, Clementine. I got your parents right here.
No!
You be sure to find me, whether Lee wants you to or not.
I thought that fucking thing was broken.
So did I.
Has she been talking to that the whole time?
Episode 4 wastes no time getting into the action, and Savannah is no joke.
Ask not for whom the bell tolls.
As soon as the group arrives, they're completely overrun by walkers.
Oh my god! Uh-oh. Oh my god!
It's a bit of a mess, and the gang gets separated from Chuck.
Good word, Chuck. Okay, Chuck, you're in the group. Ben, you're out of the group.
They hole up in a house nearby for shelter and then assess their situation. Omid's leg is badly hurt and he needs medicine. Clem isn't coming clean about who she's been talking to on the walkie, and Kenny is still hell-bent on getting a boat.
Oh my goodness.
We came to this city to find a boat, and that's just what I'm gonna do.
The team's on edge because they wonder if the stranger on the walkie is the one ringing the bells, which is only exacerbated when Lee has a run-in with him in the backyard.
You stay the hell away from us, you hear?
Once the house is deemed secure, my girlfriend agrees to head to the marina with Ken to see what they can find.
There's gotta be a boat. There's gotta be.
When they get there, they figure out plenty of the other dads had the same idea as Kenny.
Give me a fucking break.
Good
I'm a
lord,
fishing
Ken!
captain,
Can
not
you give me a
miracle
break?
worker.
While they're there, they end up meeting a woman named Molly, who turns out to be the one responsible for ringing the bells. She uses the sound to distract the undead while she loots buildings. Clementine decided to secretly tag along, and thank goodness she did.
No!
Clem?
Please, don't hurt him!
Because Molly would have attacked us if not for us having a kid.
You're not from Crawford.
There are no kids in Crawford, but we'll get into what that means a little later. For now, the group gets overrun, and my girlfriend has no choice but to hide in the sewers.
Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it! Ew.
It's here that she makes the unfortunate discovery that Truck tried to hide down here too.
No, Chuck!
Must have tried to hide out down here.
Chuck!
Poor bastard.
After wandering around for a while, she discovers a bunker with a group of cancer survivors. Since she's friendly, their leader Vernon shares a little more about what's been going on in Savannah.
You're really not from Crawford?
No, I'm really not.
Well, we are, or were.
There's a big group occupying the city known as Crawford, who are attempting to rebuild society in their perfect image. Vernon agrees to escort Lee out of the sewers and back to his people.
Any chance you could help me find my way back?
Conveniently, Vernon is a doctor, and at the house, he's able to take a look at Omid for Krista.
Well, I have a doctor with me.
We have a man wounded.
Who's this?
A doctor.
This is Vernon. He's a doctor.
Mysteriously, Clementine's nowhere to be found though, and my girlfriend started panicking like a mother who lost her child in the grocery store. Out of desperation, she searches the backyard and hopes that the stranger on the walkie hasn't run off with her.
Lee!
What were you doing, girl?
Hey, girl.
Come look. Look what I found.
Why were the doors closed? A boat?
Lee basically rolled a nat 20 here. He finds his girl and a boat in the same action.
Good work, Clem! Now, Kenny, this is why you don't get drunk, because now you can't drive the boat because you're inebriated.
The only caveat here is that some important components are missing.
Bad news is, she's not taking us anywhere the shape she's in right now. Gas tank's empty and the battery's dead.
By now, Vernon's finished tending to Omid and has done everything he can without medicine. After mulling it over, the group decides the only place they can find the boat supplies and the meds they need for Omid is in Crawford.
Well, what about this Crawford place? Sounds like they'd have everything we need.
Oh,
Maybe we should try
no.
Without a choice, they decide to risk it all and lay siege on the compound.
That's actually not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Vernon and Molly both agree to help out, and my girlfriend brings Clementine along since she doesn't feel safe letting her out of sight anymore.
Molly said Crawford is the only place left in Savannah that still has people. That means it must be where my mom and dad are, right?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
coming with.
You can come, but you have to promise to stay quiet and do exactly what you're told the whole time we're there.
Pinky promise.
Okay.
Pinky
I'm gonna
promise.
Go get ready.
Upon arriving, they see a guard on patrol and plan to ambush him. Sneaking up behind him, they realize it was actually a walker.
This guy's definitely a Zambo. Or a walker.
What the fuck?
Everyone takes a closer look around and learns there are a ton of walkers mucking about.
What the hell happened in Crawford?
So it seems that Crawford's perfect society fell apart from the inside out. Everyone splits up to find the 3 things we need, and my girlfriend's put in charge of getting the battery with Molly.
I don't know how batteries
Got
work.
that one off.
After bringing it back safely, she's able to help with the others and do some poking around.
These are really quick scenes.
Damn well better.
By investigating a series of videotapes in the medical bay, my girlfriend can learn how things fell apart.
Oh, chill out, Krista. That curtain's gonna keep you real safe, Bird.
A woman was deemed no longer to be fit to be a part of Crawford and was being forced to leave. Out of desperation, she killed the doctor, which seems to have set all of this in motion.
So he's the start of the outbreak. He was case 0.
With everything collected, the last thing on their to-do list was to try and get the armory open. Trying to be helpful, Ben brings them an axe Lee used to barricade the door earlier.
I found this.
Ben? Where did you get that?
That was one of ours.
It was stuck in the door handle at the end of the hallway back there.
I told you Ben was gonna get us in trouble. I told you. I don't know who I'm yelling this to.
Lee, shoot this fucker! Thanks.
Did I shoot?
It wasn't me.
Yo! Go, Clem, go!
Ben's been blowing it pretty hard these past 2 episodes, and things only get worse here as he decides it might be a good time now to tell Kenny that he was the one slipping the bandit supplies.
Yup, we knew Kenny was gonna kill him.
Kenny's obviously pretty pissed off about this, but there's really not much time to hash it out. The walkers break through, and they need to make an escape.
I don't really know why we needed to talk about this now.
My girlfriend, shotgun in hand, holds off the walkers while everyone flees up the tower. A ladder at the top proves itself to be the perfect escape window, and one by one they file out. Ben gets himself grabbed by a walker and almost falls to his death. The horde is coming up quick, and it's time for her to make another choice.
Bye, Ben! Oh! Let's get to it.
After everyone else makes it back to the house safe and sound, Omid is treated with the meds and more or less makes a full recovery. Clem has been hoping they'll find her parents somewhere since they're in Savannah, but our leading lady has to break the news to her that they need to get on that boat and leave.
Before we leave tomorrow, will we have time to look for my parents?
Oh.
I'd like to, Clem, but I don't think we'll have time. We really shouldn't stay here any longer. It's not safe.
Oh, honey.
After having to be the bad guy and making Clementine cry, more than anything, this dad needs a nap.
Oh, the drama.
Similarly to what happened in the house earlier, she wakes up and Clementine's nowhere to be found. Concerned that she may have run off because she was upset about her parents, my girlfriend checks in the backyard where she found her last time.
Clementine? Clementine!
Uh-oh.
Although she finds her hat, there's no Clementine.
The hat!
Outside of the fence, there's at least a clue that she was here.
What the hell? Did he get me? It's not showing us on purpose.
No.
Could I have avoided that?
No.
Fuck!
No.
I completely forgot how insane the ending of Chapter 4 was. Not only has Clementine been kidnapped, but Lee gets bitten and has until his infection spreads to find and rescue her.
Oh no.
Lee, where's Clementine? She's not in her room.
Depending on how she played the game until this point, certain survivors will be willing to come and help.
Clem may not have much time. We have a better chance of finding her if we all go together. Who's with me?
We're all responsible for Clementine.
Kenny's an interesting character because aside from Lee and Clementine, he's the only one to show up in all 5 chapters. My girlfriend hasn't always seen eye to eye with him, but the two have been through a lot together.
You've always been there for me, Lee. Always had my back when it mattered.
Yay!
If I wasn't there for
Thanks,
you,
Ken.
Surprisingly, the episode doesn't end here just yet. The group actually makes it to the bunker, but the place is abandoned.
They cleared out.
The stranger comes on the walkie and confirms it's actually him that has Clementine, and then warns our leading lady to choose her next words very carefully.
Clementine's fine, but if I were you, I'd choose my next words very carefully.
What the fuck is going on?
I wasn't kidding when I said these guys know how to write a suspenseful story. Episode 5 picks up exactly where 4 left off, and the goal hasn't changed. She needs to save Clementine before she turns.
Lee's not feeling so good.
Her only clue is that Clementine likely headed to the Marsh house because that's the hotel she talked about her parents staying at. Since she's earned their trust, her group has got her back. And apparently her arm.
Whoa!
Stop.
Wait.
He's awake.
Yes, they considered cutting Lee's arm off, but aside from being squeamish about what that scene might look like, my girlfriend correctly assumed we were too far past the point where that was an option.
This is why I'm in charge.
I know it's drastic.
You think?
The group works together to find their way back to the house they've been holed up in, and Lee's tasked with the dangerous jobs since he's the man living with a death sentence.
Pull me up! Pull me up! I'm I'm so mad about this group.
Good goddamn leap, pal.
They were gonna cut off my damn arm. I couldn't have done that jump if they cut off my arm.
Upon their return, there's more bad news waiting for them. So instead of stealing the girl, Vernon stole the boat.
Vernon and his crew took it.
Fucking Vernon. I thought they were going after my train.
My girlfriend thought she screwed up here since the full team went with her and left the boat unattended. Funnily enough, it doesn't matter who you leave behind. The cancer survivors will just beat them up and the boat will still get stolen.
I don't give a fuck if their Make-A-Wish was a fucking boat ride. When I find them, I'm gonna rip their throats out.
We'll never find them.
Boat or no boat, we've got bigger problems.
What is it?
Oh, go on me.
Front doors!
The team makes a last stand in the hallway before fleeing into the attic. Things are pretty tense because they're trapped up there, and Kenny starts talking like he's gonna give Lee the old Larry treatment.
We could be looking at a Larry situation here.
Who's Larry?
It don't matter.
In the commotion, a bust gets tossed, and they realize the wall is rotted out. The group does some day drinking, and Kenny and Lee reminisce about some of the craziness they've encountered on this adventure, while Omid beats through the rotten paneling. After making it through, they can start using the rooftops to head to the Marsh house.
Oh my god, it's a good thing that we only had this group.
They're making good progress, but things grind to a halt when Kenny bumps Lee and accidentally knocks the walkie-talkie out of his hands.
Let's keep going, you bunch of lollygaggers.
Ken!
Feeling impatient, Krista jumps down to grab it, but very quickly it becomes apparent she's not in there alone.
No! No! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, no.
Shit, they're in there!
This pretty much marks the end for Krista. Or it would if not for Kenny.
Ken! He's going in!
What are you doing?
Get her, Ken!
Oh my god!
Now, come on, reach!
Oh my god!
John!
Save her!
Go!
Do you fucking hear me?
Kenny!
In a last stand, the Florida man fights off as many walkers as he can before disappearing into the horde. Her group keeps getting smaller, but the silver lining is that the Marsh house is finally coming into view.
Oh, fuck!
Separated from Omid and Krista, he tells them they'll meet up outside of town once he finds Clementine. When asked how he's gonna do that, he reminds them that he has nothing left to lose.
It means I'm already bitten. I just have to push my way through.
What the fuck?
Lee is essentially a dead man walking here, and armed with death itself, nothing matters but getting to the hotel and saving his little girl.
Whoa! Why did I need my blood on it? Oh my god, so this is like my, oh, I'm cutting through. I'm cutting through. Get out of my way. No one gets between Big Daddy and her Clem. We gotta get our girl. Get out of my way. I'm walking here.
Upon arriving at the hotel, a familiar station wagon is parked out front, and my girlfriend begins to put the pieces together of what's going on here.
I got us adjoining rooms.
Who the hell are you?
Inside, he's confronted by the stranger, and the two sit down for a talk. So as it turns out, this was the owner of all the food our group found outside of the St. John's Dairy way back in episode 2. He's hell-bent on revenge and blames our theft for the death of his family.
That is not the whole story.
I couldn't leave her at the house alone.
She would have been better off!
Definitely not. This guy is creepy as hell.
He's keeping Clementine locked up in the back of the room, but she manages to break free and help Lee.
Good work, Clem! Good work. Oh, Clem, close your eyes, honey! That was a lot. Clem, how you doing?
Would have come back.
Yup.
That's right, sweet pea.
Clem! We saved Clem!
It's okay.
The two cover themselves in zombie guts in order to camouflage themselves among the undead.
This is the bravest little girl ever. Oh my god.
This allows them to start heading towards where Krista and Omid are supposed to be. The plan initially works, but Clem locks up when she spots two familiar walkers in the pack. before he can comfort her, Lee passes out from his affection once again.
Oh, now is not the time, Lee, now is not the time!
After coming to, Lee finds that Clementine has locked the two of them in a jewelry store to protect them. Unfortunately, Lee hadn't told her he was bitten, and now she's at risk of being eaten by him if he turns.
I locked us in.
Get that door open.
I can't.
Do it!
Lee is beyond help at this point, and it takes everything he has just to walk with Clem across the room.
Thanks, Clem!
This is a true passing of the torch, as you're essentially playing as Clementine here through Lee. He's giving instructions and doing his best to orchestrate her escape.
It's no big deal. It's just a glass window.
Ow!
Oh, she just punched it.
I particularly love that he has her restrain him, because Lee begins and ends his story in cuffs. At the beginning of the game, his life was essentially over, and the undead affection was his second chance. He didn't have anything left to live for, though, at least until he met Clementine.
But I'll look after you until then.
Throughout the entire game, he's been shepherding her and showing her what it takes to survive in this new world. And now, she's finally ready.
I did it. I got him.
The last choice in Lee's story isn't his at all. Clementine has to choose whether to kill Lee or leave him behind to turn.
You'll be okay.
Oh, this is heartbreaking.
To this day, the ending of this game still gets me choked up, and I think that's just a testament to how good of a story it has. Like a season finale on a television show where the main character dies, we're left wondering how the show can go on without them. It's here in the end that we realize this wasn't Lee's story at all, but Clementine's the whole time. He's given her everything he could to prepare her for the world, and now it's up to her to make her own choices in season 2.
Oh my god, am I gonna be playing as Clem in that one?
At the end of each chapter, my girlfriend's major decisions were shown and compared to the rest of the player base. We covered a lot of her journey, but if you want to watch the full adventure, the VODs have been uploaded to Girl Met Boy, and you can see it in its entirety. A link will be down below. I want to take this opportunity to thank our patrons and channel supporters for helping make videos like this possible. Extra special thank you to our awesome six-wheelers: Daniel Rogers, Gizmo, Isaac Vogan, David Webb, Mace, Albino the Infernate, Gray Sleepy, Taco Supreme, Parav Skittles, NV, Shaneboy1888, and Cerberus. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. We got a couple more games cooking before the end of the year, and we want to see you there. Until then, Girl just has one more question for you.
How's your finger?